In this tutorial, I will be showing teacher view and how to set up what icons your students do see on their view and different settings that you can put in there. Right now, I've made a separate roster for the students, for instance, that we are going to have with us for tutoring. On the first day of tutoring, I did have them take some pre-tests in math, so I knew what skills that they were missing, vocabulary, language, just to see kind of where they stood. But from now on, they will be doing just test prep. So I want to go ahead and eliminate all these other buttons for them to see because I want them to focus on this because that will get them on a daily or whenever they are in tutoring. It will get, kind of test them on a little chunk and then teach them if they don't know it and so on. But I did want that overall pre-test so that I knew where they stood as far as what level they were at currently. So to do that, once you've already made your rosters, I do suggest always creating or creating groups. I have created a group for our I-STEP tests. I have lots of different groups, as you can see. It kind of helps because when you see for accountability, it's nice because the information that you have up doesn't have all your students, just the particular group you want to look at the time when they're there. So I have already created one for I-STEP, and it is right there. So these are the students that we have invited to I-STEP. So I have them in a specific group. So I want to actually bulk update their curriculum settings. Because I had a bunch of other stuff set up for them for those pre-tests, when they come back, I only want them to be able to do the state test practice because that's what we're working on for I-STEP. So I go to their group. And I choose all of those students, continue. They are in grade 8. I want the read aloud sound to be on. I'm not going to necessarily set a goal because I'm not quite sure each day. They'll only be there 2 days a week, so I'm not going to do that. For score of passing, you can do, I usually do between 70 and 80% because what that means is if they don't get that percent, it's going to test them again. So because we're in high stakes right here, I'm going to put 80% because that's usually passing. And minutes before practice pauses, that means if your student toggles off and tries to listen to music or something else, it'll pause and you'll be able to tell that on their little graphs there to see if they were really active in the lesson or not. So I usually set that at the minimum 1 minute. Now you don't have to hit save in between each one, but if I just wanted to do that, that's what I would do. But again, if I wanted to set up a couple other things, so I'm going to go back to bulk update curriculum settings. I'm going to choose my I-STEP group. Select all students, continue. Okay, I had already set that up, so I don't need to mess with that again. I can go to show hide. I had all these other things up before, but now all I'm going to do is keep up my test prep because it gives me math and language arts test prep. So I'm going to go ahead and check these. Well, I might actually leave fact fluency to on because that gives them little intervals of multiplication and division practice. It's going to turn, actually I might leave vocabulary on because vocabulary is great extra practice for I-STEP. Early words, early stories, those are really for students in the lower grades. I'm not going to do the reading assessment. We've already got some of those. I do in my regular classroom, but not for this. I'm going to leave writing workshop on because I might want them to do some writing actually in class. State test prep, that's exactly what I want on. Short answer, I'm going to keep on because that way they'll be able to see their answers from the writing workshop. I'm going to turn off tests. If in anything here you don't want them to have messenger, you can turn that off. You want to definitely have behavior vibes. They're already on, but if you want to be safe and hit it to on. The wall, they can kind of just see blogs and kind of stuff like that. Games, you can turn on and off. Badges on and off. Contests on and off. You definitely want them to see their time and their progress so that they can see how they've been doing on Moby Max. You want your complete student dashboard. I don't know. I just usually leave that blank. You probably want a scratch pad for math. Student response system. Daily smile. That's kind of cute. They like that when they get on. You don't have a Moby Max tablet, so you can turn the tablet tools off. I don't have to hit save for this because it's going to save even if I do go to a different screen here. And so since I knew I left certain things on, I did leave Writer's Workshop on. I want them to have my kids at grade 8 because they are. I want them to automatically assign lessons for iStep because I want them to get used to all of the different writing styles, not just what our unit of study is. On my other groups, I do have just off because I assign whatever we're working on in this particular unit of study. You want them to show short answer problems to students because that's where they'll type in their parts of their writing and show exemplar to students as feedback. So if they do get something wrong, they will show them example and why it was wrong. So that's nice for writing workshop. You might want like for math for sure. So for state test prep, we know they're at 8th grade, continue to next grade if complete. If you do have that button open and you want them to automatically assign lessons, that's fine. If you want them to start with a placement test, which we did originally, you could start it at a lower grade to see exactly where they fall. It just becomes a very long test. I've really noticed that if you start at K, they usually get to 2nd grade and then they just give up on it by then. So if I just want to know 8th grade standards, I start at 8 to automatically end usually. And then that's where that comes in for automatically assigning lessons based on what they don't get right. If you want to set up certain skills, put start student with no placement test, and you'll see in a different video how you can just assign assignments that way. Language, you could start with a placement test or not. Like I said, we did on the first day. They started at grade 8 for test prep. We wanted them to always practice grade 8, continue on. And we just chose to automatically assign lessons on things they didn't get right because we didn't narrow that down to things on a unit of study since it was for iStep prep. So once you've configured all of these that you want to, you hit save and it saves all the information. Then the students within that group have those credentials. So when they log on, that's what they'll see as a student.